to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes. Call the show now at 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415 or soundbytes.org. Now, alongside Steve Ray and Dave Enright, here's Nick Francesco on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the chips in the PC. It is Saturday, the very last day of July on Domini 2021. And you lucky people, you're listening to Sound Bytes. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 9 minutes after the hour, we're going to be bringing you news, views, things to choose, nothing to lose. Kick off your shoes, don't get the blues. Here comes the news. Ta-da. Ta-da. Apple has released security updates to address a zero-day vulnerability exploited in the wild and which will impact iPhones, iPads, and Macs. The vulnerability is a memory corruption issue in the iMobile frame buffer kernel extension reported by an anonymous researcher. It allowed applications to execute arbitrary code with kernel privileges. Apple has fixed the bug by improving memory handling in iOS 14.7.1, iPadOS 14.7.1, and macOS Big Sur 11.5.1. The list of devices on which this has an impact includes Macs, iPhone 6s and later, iPad Pro, all models, iPad Air 2 and later, iPad 5th generation and later, iPad Mini 4 and later, and iPod Touch 7th generation. Apple is aware of a report that this issue may have been actively exploited, Apple said in a security advisory published Monday. They did not release any additional information regarding these attacks. Withholding this info is likely a measure designed to allow the security updates to reach as many iPhones, iPads, and Macs as possible before other threat actors pick up on the details and start actively abusing the now-patched zero-day. Last month, Amnesty International and Forbidden Stories revealed that they found spyware made by Israeli surveillance vendor NSO Group deployed on iPhones running the latest iOS release, likely hacked using zero-day, zero-click iMessage exploits. That means not only are they being actively exploited the day they're out and there's no fix for them, but also you don't even have to click on anything to get infected. Project Zero recently revealed that a group of hackers used 11 0 days in attacks targeting Windows, iOS, and Android users within a single year. So our poll of the week at soundbytes.org, that's Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you, is Apple patches actively exploited zero-day. Your choices are, I'm all patched up, I'll patch right away, going commando, baby, Apple, meh, and of course, other. If you said other, or if you just have more to say about this, and we know how you like to talk, you can head on over to soundbytes.org. That's Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you. Scroll down on the right under Fascinating Stuff. So far, the second forum down is poll discussion, and so far at least, the number one item under poll discussion is 31 July 21, Apple patches actively exploited zero-day. And, of course, if you have anything else you'd like to say about this, please feel free to give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415.
It's almost nice to see Apple included in the patching. That means that they're finally being taken seriously in the criminal world.
At last.
Took a long enough.
At last.
I did wonder, because the 11.5 OS update, came out last week, and like a day later, 11.5.1, something happened.
Yeah. Yeah. When that .1 comes out, like within a week,
yeah,
there's a big thing coming. So if you have, look, we've talked about this over and over and over again, and still people don't get it. Macs are as vulnerable. Apple
all
products,
systems are.
Right, are as vulnerable as every other system. All of them are vulnerable. You need to keep them all up to date. Just because you own a Mac, don't get smug or you'll get taken. Do the updates. Make sure you're up to date and that's as safe as you can be. I mean, there's always the possibility of 0 days in every operating system as well, but at least be as safe as you can be, and update. Now, I know that particularly in the Windows world, and believe me, I sympathize. You don't want to be first, but
Right.
you do. Generally speaking, in the Linux and Android and Mac world, and even with last month's screw up in the Chromebook world, putting your updates in immediately is a very, very good idea, because like I said in the news story, these are 0-day exploits, which means that the day they discover it, they also discover that it's actively being exploited.
And it could be being exploited for months. They don't know.
Right. So patching immediately is the right thing to do in that particular
Well,
case.
the one thing we can say is, all systems are vulnerable to attack. The big difference is Windows versus all the others is the others get usually patched immediately, like Ubuntu and the rest of them.
Right.
They find something, boom, they're patching it. If that day, if not the next day. Whereas Windows, it could go a couple months or so, and then they compile them up and say, well, here, we're going to throw out this patch, and hopefully it's going to fix some of the stuff that, we discovered 6 months ago.
And because they patch it that way, they introduce other problems. That's one of the nice things about originally only Linux, but now most other operating
Chrome
systems than Windows, is that they patch piecemeal. Oh, here's a problem. We're fixing this problem
Same with
today.
the Apple.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With pretty much everything except Windows.
Yeah.
We find this problem, we fix this problem today, and push out the patch.
See, and that's been their biggest problem, and the downgrade of Windows and people not trusting it
Right.
is because they do wait so long, whereas the other systems, I'll have a patch for that tomorrow, and you can rely on it.
And
Windows has shot themselves, not in one foot, they've shot themselves in both feet, so they limp equally.
And every Windows update, every month when they release Windows updates, there's 100 or more updates.
Right.
The joke used to be every month it was a new record, 125 updates, 128 updates. And they found that many problems, many of them with high severity, that affect so many other things. So the odds of your Windows machine, dying, not rebooting after an update are pretty high.
Well, because they've caused their own issues.
Right.
And they've got nobody to blame but themselves for their bad
The other issue,
Outlook.
yes, and the other issue is that you have to, you change your printer driver, you got to reboot your system.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Linux, unless you change the kernel, you don't reboot. I get updates pretty much every other day. It says, okay, click here to update. Click. 2 minutes
away it
later,
goes.
I'm done. It's done. I don't even have to reboot. I don't have to do anything. It just happens in the background.
Yeah.
And I keep, if it's let's say it's an
Automatically.
update to a program I'm using, like Chrome, then yes, I have to restart Chrome.
Yeah.
But I don't have to reboot my system. I don't have to worry that, holy moly, is this thing going to come back or not?
blue screen or whatever.
Right. Don't have to worry about any of that nonsense. It just automatically happens and you're done. Chromebooks, you do have to reboot, but you don't have to reboot right now. You can wait. Because of their security model. A reboot is required because they've updated the ROM, and that has to be a reboot. But again, you can update tomorrow. None of them are so critical that you have to do it immediately. So you work all day, it updates in the background. You shut your machine down at night. You bring it up in the morning, and it's a new system.
Yeah.
Done.
It's patched and ready to go.
Done. So the real problem has been with and poor Microsoft. They just don't get it. They don't. They used to say, okay, update whenever you want, and of course people didn't want to for good reason. And then they said, well, we're going to make you update, and then it updates in the middle of giving a presentation. and now you can update right now or pause it for an hour. Well, if I'm in the middle of so now I either have to an hour or two before my presentation, I have to boot up my system, update, and hope it comes back.
Yeah.
Or hope my presentation lasts less than an hour.
Or answer the question again.
Or answer the question.
Do they give you another hour?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So the problem is their model. And of course, that's the point behind Windows 365. They will update that on their own and then just push that update to everybody doing the up in the cloud version of Windows. And I get it. I do get it. It's much easier for them if they have no hardware worries. You know, there'll still be drivers for printers and one or two other devices. But really, it's going to be so much easier for everybody. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but it'll be easier for everybody.
So when it freezes, how do you reboot it?
Well, that's
guess that's
exactly
the
right.
theory.
I don't know. The theory is it won't because they've tested it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I amuse myself. I amuse myself. But at any rate, give us a call. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415. I was telling Dave, I have to admit, I came this much closer to buying a Raspberry Pi 400.
Still, I keep telling you can plug right into
Yeah,
that.
but I don't have eyes in the back of my head.
You could turn your chair around and face
Yeah, I could.
Your mic will
Michael Swivel.
swivel around. Matter of fact, you two could switch seats.
We could. That would do it.
Yeah, you could be looking over there, still on the mic.
Yep. Well, I like I said, well, he could do it now because it does not AirPlay. What do you call it?
Yeah, AirPlay.
Yeah.
Remote wireless video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, see, now I may end up getting a little chair and sitting over there in that
a little coffee
little
table.
table to put the computer
Fold up,
on. Yeah.
fold up coffee table.
Yep. Yeah, Rob, if you're listening,
Yeah, we need a fold-up coffee table
go
for
fold up. Then
Steve.
I can relax in the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can put a little nightstand, put it on
Yep.
wheels, and wheel it around.
There you go. Yeah, or one of those. I used to have. Gosh, I used to have one of those
Things.
hospital tray stand things that slides in under the bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that was nice because you could adjust the height. And I mean, this is long before all this stuff became ergonomic, right? This was back in the.
One thing I do have to
70s.
suggest, and I've had a few folks email me and question, talking about the Raspberry Pis, is, well, what all can you do with it? For you folks that don't know, just you want to really blow your mind, go and Google Raspberry Pi projects. And there are at least 20 different sites that you can go to that list a multitude of projects that you can do with your Raspberry Pi, whether it's home security or building a quadcopter to whatever. There are so many ideas out there and helpful videos and step-by-step instructions that will walk you through, again, all these projects for this little piece of plastic that's no bigger than a deck of cards.
Yep.
And have a lot of fun with it. And, don't want to do that anymore? You just erase it and start on another project. It really is very versatile. And don't be surprised, and I'm warning you ahead of time, you won't be satisfied with one, because you'll get that one working on some project and have to order another one. Or be like Nick, who's close to getting a 400, which is just a few bucks more, but it's all built in with a keyboard.
Yeah.
And you could hook it up to your TV, be sitting in your living room and doing all the programming and everything else.
Let me also say that, and I got to finish my book. I'm writing a book called Getting Started with the Raspberry Pi. And
So you should get started with your Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to buy it for research.
oh, yes!
Now it's tax deductible.
Now
There
it's
you
tax
go.
deductible.
It's related to the book.
Exactly.
You need it for further development of your book.
Right. So I actually answer this question. What can you do with it? I have a short answer and a slightly longer answer.
Okay. Yeah.
The short answer is everything you can do with any other computer.
Yep.
The slightly longer answer is that it's not exactly, because it uses mostly you can run Windows on the high-end ones, but
Yep.
I really don't recommend it. But mostly it uses FOSS software, free and open source software, FOSS. And that means all of the programs you're used to are available in type, but not necessarily exactly that one. So there are multiple Office suites available on the Raspberry Pi, but not Microsoft Office.
No.
There are multiple editing, graphical editing programs available on the Raspberry Pi, but not Adobe Illustrator.
Right.
So,
and they're free.
And they're all free. And so, yeah, you have a lot of choices for a lot of software. I was looking at the various Office suites that are available, and even LibreOffice we've talked about. But there's another one called Calligra Suite, and it has word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, databases, vector illustrations, all of that stuff. And again, in order to add it, it's a very difficult process. You go to the Raspberry Pi menu, go to add and remove programs, click on it, and say OK.
Google said.
That's it. That's all there is
I don't
to
know.
it.
Google search said, "Did you mean Caligula?"
Yeah.
No, I did not.
But is there a Caligula suite? Because I'd be interested at least in seeing it.
Yeah, no, there's a number of them. Matter of fact, even in those projects, some of them suggest that you load this particular one, say whatever you're going to do, and then they give you a lot of options. Say you're installing an OS. A lot of them now will say, well, do you also want this, and this? We'll pre-install it for you. You just click it, walk away from it, and come back later, and it's downloaded, installed, and put it all on there and reboot it.
It's got a project management module in it,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
as well as a graphic module. Not many of the Office suites have graphic modules. They'll have I can put a shape in a word processor, but not a full graphics module.
Well, they even have a gamer. As far as games,
Versions, yeah.
the various games.
He's
that
still
you,
talking about Caligula.
But
now
I mean-
you got me doing it.
yeah, but
Caligula,
for graphics and everything else, it does a decent job of doing it.
I had a question this week about genealogy programs on a Raspberry Pi.
Yep.
There's a program called Gramps. It's a funny name, but it does everything that I understand a genealogy program does.
Ancestry.
And it reads GEDCOM files.
Oh, there you go.
So right, exactly, and that's the standard way to move stuff around. So what I did this week was my father-in-law, who has passed, had a bunch of genealogy stuff, and before we got rid of his old computer, I copied out his GEDCOM files. I exported his GEDCOM files. So this week I imported them to Gramps. Guess what? Perfect.
All there.
Perfect. They work perfectly. So now, let's say you get a Raspberry Pi 400 and you've already got a monitor. For $100, you've got a computer you can do your genealogy on.
Yeah. And a lot more.
And a whole lot.
Oh, heck of a lot more.
So Steve is right. I could buy one and do research on it. Use it actually, and I've done this with the 4, but I haven't done it with the 400. It's different research. Use it actually as my main driver all week long, or a month, or whatever it is.
Every research project needs its own computer.
It's boy, that's the truth.
Well, you're also using it to gain more experience for your book.
Right. And so, yeah, that's the point.
Hands-on experience. I mean, and if you get folks reading your book and all of a sudden ask questions and they emailing you, with, well, what about this or that? Having already used the device, you've got the experience.
Yeah. The only problem with all of that is that I do not have enough room on my desk for 2 computers and a cat. So
Get the cat her own computer.
I've said this before. I have regular round doorknobs, but she can open the door. So even if I close the door, she's right there,
Opening.
opening the door and coming in and jumping up and moving stuff around. And so I've learned.
Well, you got to build her own shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. She has a separate. There's a whole other table right there. She
No.
doesn't want that one. She wants to be next to me.
Yeah, well, that's where you've got to get one of these shelves.
Yeah.
Like an arm that you could put a shelf
I've
on.
got the arm for the TV now because she was very close to
Well, I've
knocking that off the table.
Well, I've got an arm that it can do 2 monitors.
Yes.
You could always have the monitor on one and build a shelf on the other one.
Actually, I have that now.
I've got another one.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah.
Looks like Gramps also runs on Mac and Windows.
Yes, it does. It runs on everything. And it's free. It's absolutely free, and it does everything that everybody needs it to do. All right, listen. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, with Steve Ray, with me, Nick Francesco, and with you. Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415. We'll be right back with the longest-running computer show in the known universe. That's Soundbites on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
It's America's longest-running computer show. Back to more Sound Bites with Nick, Dave, and Steve. Next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Cameron Fairchild. American gymnast Simone Biles is pulling out of more events at the Tokyo Olympics. Team USA says Biles has withdrawn from the finals for vault and uneven bars. She had already withdrawn from the individual all-around competition and team final. The Justice Department files a lawsuit against Texas Governor Greg Abbott over his executive order restricting transportation of illegal aliens through the state. The lawsuit claims Abbott's order, which he says is aimed at preventing illegals from spreading coronavirus, infringes upon the federal government's jurisdiction over immigration. Russia blames a software glitch and possible human error for throwing the International Space Station out of control. Reuters reports work continues to activate a newly attached module involved in that mishap. I'm Cameron Fairchild, NBC News Radio.
Which is more powerful, nature or nurture? This is Sandra Singlo with the Lowdown on Science saying, what about mind control? Some aspects of our physiology and personality are encoded by our genes. And we know that environmental factors are also important. Bradley Turnwald and colleagues at Stanford University wondered if our minds could also play a part. They tested their theory by scanning study participants for a specific gene that influences their capacity for exercise. One gene variant makes the person tire easily. Another form correlates to high endurance. The subjects also ran on a treadmill before and after the genetic test. But instead of revealing their actual test results, researchers randomly assigned presence of the different genes to the participants. Results? Those told they had the tire easily gene did worse on the second treadmill test, even if they actually carried the high endurance gene. And those believing they had the high endurance gene improved despite having the other gene. So it's not just plain nature or nurture, but also our own belief which affects our bodies. Here's to thinking I'm the next Serena Williams.
The Lowdown on Science is produced by LDOS Media Lab in partnership with the University of California Irvine Science Communication and 89.3 KPCC, and made possible with the generous support of the Fuse Family Foundation.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Now you can explore Rochester and surrounding areas with a member card as your guide. When you make a gift of $90.10 or more, we'll send you a Jazz 90.1 member card. Then enjoy savings at hundreds of restaurants and attractions near you. So what are you waiting for? Call and become the newest member of Jazz 90.1 today. 966-5299 or online at jazz901.org.
Your smartphone just got a bit smarter. Text your computer questions now on our new text line. Text 205-8887. That's 205-8887.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311.
It's easier than you think for pests to threaten your family's health. Ticks, which spread dangerous diseases, hide in tall grasses and even on your pets. Rodents easily invade your home, contaminate food, and can carry more than 35 diseases. Mosquitoes, which breed in standing water, transmit many diseases. Get the facts you need to protect your family at pestworld.org. It's that easy. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
Jazz 90.1 weather.
This will go down as one of the wettest Julys in Rochester weather history, with more than 7.6 inches of rain measured at the airport. As we head through the day today, though, no rain to talk about, just a good supply of sunshine from hilltop to lakeshore. The high temperature in the mid-70s. Clouds will be on the increase, though, for tonight, and there will be a shower or thundery downpour overnight. The low near 60. Tomorrow brings scattered showers and thunder showers. The high temperature near 70. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently, right now, we've got overcast skies, 68 degrees out at the airport, and 73 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Phil Dodd. Please join me weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 35 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbites. Before I get to news, let me remind everybody that tomorrow night is the lounge meeting. Go to soundbites.org/lounge at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and you'll see a link to the lounge itself, or the video chat, and we'll be there courtesy of Mastermind Lounge, and we'll be there doing, taking your questions and chit-chatting about life, and it'll all be good. In the meantime, I will read a news. While I'm reading the news item, please give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415. So you may have gotten this weird email from Google this week. A security update will be applied to Drive. If you go to your Google Drive at drive.google.com, you'll also see a message saying on September 13th, 2021, a security update will be applied to some of your files. You can even see a list of the affected files, which have all gotten an unspecified security update. So what's this all about? Google is changing the way content sharing works on Drive. Drive files have two sharing options: a single person allow list, where you share a Google Doc with a specific Google account or multiple Google accounts, and a get link option where anybody with a link can access the file, whether or not they have a Google account. The get link option works the same way as unlisted YouTube videos. It's not really private, but theoretically not quite public either, since the link needs to be publicized somewhere. The secret sharing links are really just security through obscurity, and it turns out the links are actually guessable. Google knew about the problem of guessable secret links for a while and changed the way link generation works back in 2017. Of course, that doesn't affect links you shared in the past, before 2017, and soon Google is going to require your old links to change, which can break them. Google's new link scheme adds a resource key to the end of any shared Drive links, making them harder to guess. If you head to drive.google.com/drive/update-drives in a browser, you should be able to see a list of your files on which this will have an impact, And if you mouse over each one of them, you'll see a button on the right. Actually, I believe it's a. Oh no, it'll be a button if it hasn't happened. You'll see a button on the right to remove or apply the security updates. And if it's already been applied or whatever, that means if applied means the resource key will be required after September 13th, 2021, and will mostly break the old link, while removed means the resource key isn't required and any links out there should keep working. Not letting third parties create a list of all your unlisted files is a good thing, but don't confuse this link change with any actual security. You should never share anything over the unlisted or get link features on YouTube, Google Drive, or Google Photos if you actually want it to be private. Secret links are just security through obscurity, and even with Google's upgrades, they should not be considered secure or undiscoverable. This arrangement is totally fine for casual documents, but always assume that anyone in the world can read an unlisted file. If you're okay with that, fine. But if not, use Google's actually private account-based sharing option. So, if you share something with the get link option, it is not private. If you share it directly with the allow list, where you pick somebody from your list and say this person can look at this file. And you can pick
more than one?
And you can pick as many as you want. That is secure.
Okay.
So you just need to be aware. Yeah, and that allow list, the secure allow list, does require a Google account. Those are free.
Yeah.
So it's not that big a deal. But that's the way that works. If you're not using that, then it is an obscured but not really private link. So do you worry about publicly exposed documents, pictures, and videos? Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415. And that is not just for Google Docs, but also for Google Photos and for YouTube videos. Be amazed at the number of YouTube videos that are up there should in fact be private.
But aren't.
And are not.
And they could be all of a sudden become very public.
They could become very public very easily. And the same is true of Google Docs. Excuse me, Google Photos.
Yeah.
There are a lot of pictures that really should be private.
Like the old
photos
days.
and videos, because you can put videos on Google Photos.
I remember the old days back at Kodak.
Oh, yeah.
And where they used to develop the photos. Well, a lot of them you couldn't send back through the mail. It was illegal because of their content.
Right.
And some of them would wind up on...
Oh, I don't doubt that.
The walls.
I don't doubt that. The fact is that any place that did local processing, so you used to be able to take it to places and they would process it right there and you go pick them up there. Then they could process anything they wanted to. That was up to the individual store to do that. But if you dropped it off at a kiosk or whatever, they sent it to Kodak, and Kodak would then send it back to you. Well, it was illegal to send certain types of pictures through the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And Kodak doesn't care as much about you as they care about being legal with the United States government. Yeah. If they have to make that choice, they make it for them and the government.
There was contracts in the balance there.
Exactly. So you wouldn't get those back.
Nope.
And it was pretty funny. I had some people who came to me at one point, a person, I will not even name the gender of that individual, who said, I was supposed to get back some pictures and some are missing. I said, well, before I tell you, sue them or call them or do something with them, were these pictures that perhaps would not be public? And that person blushed and said, well, yes. I said, well, here's why.
Yeah.
I was always mad when they printed a black picture.
Yes.
That it was overexposed or
or underexposed, right? White
or blurry as all get out,
and they charged me for that print, even though it was obviously bad.
Right.
Well,
that was probably easier than explaining we didn't print these 17 photos out of your 18 roll because they were crap.
Because they're all pictures of your thumb.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it was just through a machine. You know, I mean, the machine did it.
Right.
And it would autofocus and, everything else.
And then for a while, of course, they had the self-serve machines.
Yeah.
At a lot of places, and that meant you could print whatever the heck you wanted.
But again, you got to watch who's around you.
And that's a little scary too, because you plug your phone in, it opens your entire photo library to pick the one you want to print. It opens your entire photo library.
Yeah, exactly.
So put the ones you want on like a flash drive, and only those ones.
That's exactly right.
Or print them at home.
Yeah, really.
I did get my wife a home photo printer.
Yeah.
Then she let the ink dry out, so I bought new ink, and she let the ink dry out, and it needed new heads, and so I stopped buying new photo printers.
Yep.
And then she complains that she likes printed photo albums. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can buy them now, right through either Apple Photos or Google Photos.
Yeah.
You can just,
well, that Canon printer looks really interesting. The one you fill the tanks yourself.
Yeah.
Epson has
waiting
new
for the
EcoTank
stories.
like that. Yeah, it's a bulb of ink, and you squirt it in there. And how many people are going to make just a horrible mess?
Yep.
But it is less expensive. The joke is that the typical ink cartridge you get is half a milliliter, 0.5 liter. So, I have my liter bottle here. So 2,000 of those, and you pay $20 for it. So somebody did the math, and that's $5,000 a gallon.
Right.
For printer ink.
Right.
So a lot of the inkjet printers are now advertising larger tanks. A lot of them you can now put a bottle of ink in it instead of needing to replace the whole cartridge. Although the one nice thing we always liked about HP cartridges is the print head and the ink were in one cartridge, so it was a little more expensive. But then you got a new head with every new ink.
Right.
Because usually your heads get clogged with ink and dry out, and you might have plenty of ink in the printer, but the heads don't work. And replacing the heads is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, my sister-in-law, when my father-in-law passed, she took his photo printer.
Yep.
And about 2.5 years later, she called me up and said, "It's not working." I said, "When was the last time you used it?" She said, "This is the first time." I said, "Throw it away."
Yep.
I mean, you're kind of done at that point.
Tried out, yeah.
If it had never been used, that's okay.
Yeah, that's.
But he had been using it quite regularly, so there was ink in the system.
In the lines
and for 2.5 years, it just sat there caking up. It's just there's nothing you can do at that point.
Yep, that's the advice. Throw it out. We did have somebody with a question that wanted to know where's the best place to buy a Chromebook.
That's a lovely question. There are a couple of the big box stores that used to have them available to look at.
And test drive.
That's nice to be able to look at something. Yeah.
Right. So you should probably do that. You can also buy them everywhere online. Every place from Amazon to Google Store to pretty much everywhere. But of course, all other things being equal, my suggestion is always, if you do use a big box store to do your test drive, it kind of obligates you to at least think about buying it from that place.
Yeah.
And you'll find that the prices are fairly comparable all across the board. It might be a little cheaper online, but you'll pay shipping and yada yada. So, but you can look at several of the big box stores.
And you got to check out the layouts too. Just like back in the day with the laptops. I mean, they have different layouts. Like Steve's his laptop there has a bigger mouse pad area, versus some that have a very small one, and what size screen. Right. Yep. There's a lot of different features, and you got to put down, again, doing your homework, make a list of what you really need, what you'd like, and then do your shopping and see where you can get. You're not going to get all the items that you probably put on your list, but the key ones.
Right.
And part of the problem is because we've sold Chromebooks in our store, there's hundreds of different models. Yep. So if a customer knows what they want, we can order it for them.
Right.
The problem is, I want a Chromebook. Okay, as Dave said, what size screen? How much storage?
Do you want onboard graphics or and it's dedicated graphics?
It's almost worse than the Windows world.
Yeah.
At least in the in the Mac world, there's 4 consumer machines and 4 Pro machines, and it's a little easier to then you get into configs of how much RAM you want and how much storage you want. But we just we're going to start selling more HP models, and even large well-known company like HP, they've got hundreds and hundreds of models. So we've started selling them into some of our corporate accounts that they do HPs for their Windows market and then Macs in the graphics department. And they said, well, HP's got this extended warranty service. For $50 you get 3-year warranty on it. Nah, they're disposable. They break, you throw them away, you buy a newer one because it's better.
That's for the corporate world. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
For an individual, $50 is not a bad amount of money to spend on a thing like that.
Because they're going to hang on to it for 6-7 years at least.
Right. So in general with Chromebooks, you don't need a high-end model for the average user. And the average user doesn't play high-end games, doesn't do high-end audio and video editing.
Graphics.
Things like that. They do word processing a little bit, and they do spreadsheets a little bit, and they do email, and they do web browsing and that stuff. You can get away with a fairly low-end Chromebook to do those things. The minute you start adding other things you want to do, then it's going to cost you more money. So when you go to buy one, know what you're going to use it for. And that will help the person who's doing the selling to steer you to look, they want you to be happy with your purchase because A, it's much less hassle for them, and B, you will be happy with that store and come back to buy more stuff. That's just common sense. So the more you help the salesperson to help you, the better off both of you are. All right, let's go to the phones. Our first caller is Andy from Greece, New York. Hi, Andy. What's up?
Hi, guys. Got a question on my wife's laptop.
Yeah.
It's a Windows box, HP. We keep getting this little message pops up in the notifications bar on the right-hand side. We need to fix your Microsoft account. Parenthesis. Most likely your password has changed. Close parenthesis. Select here to fix in shared experience settings. The password didn't change.
Well, that's just the most likely reason.
Yeah. One of the things we've started seeing is Microsoft is started bundling OneDrive with everything.
Yeah.
And now it's coming with Windows updates. And so what I have found that to mean is that OneDrive is installed, it's not logged into your Windows account, and so that needs to be fixed.
Right.
From Microsoft's standpoint, that needs to be fixed. You must log into your OneDrive account.
Okay. So if I don't want to use OneDrive, I can ignore this.
Well, well, my suggestion would be to log into OneDrive and not use it. That way you'll know if that was the issue, and the error message will go away.
Or even uninstall OneDrive, if you can.
If you can. I don't even know if it'll just reinstall again.
Probably.
So you don't have to use OneDrive. There's no magic formula. Windows will not stop working if you don't use OneDrive. But logging into it is the easiest way to make sure that that was the error and that it goes away.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that makes sense to a point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, it makes Microsoft sense.
And is that sense at all? Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Steve is here this week. I would have thought he'd be out in Oshkosh.
Yeah, I really want to go to Oshkosh one of these years. The Experimental Aircraft Association's annual show.
What kind of an acronym is EAO? You can't even say it.
EAA.
Oh, association.
Association, yeah. Air Ventures is the name of the show. So Oshkosh, Wisconsin is the busiest airport in the world for this week. Something like 1,000 takeoff and landings a day.
Wow.
It's just a ridiculous number of airplanes, and it even though it lasts a whole week, you can't see everything.
No, you can't.
The annual rocket launch show from National Association of Rocketry finished up on Friday, so I went to that last weekend. So it's Oshkosh is one of those big things that you really hope to go see, and then the Large Dangerous Rocket Ship show, LDRS.
That I would like to see.
That's in the Bonneville Salt Flats. Started yesterday Wednesday, and so the people have been posting pictures of that. I think they have a 100,000-foot waiver because there's nothing around.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there's so many, so few weekends in the summer, and so many things to do that.
Well, the Bonneville Salt Flats you could do all year long.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
they usually go to Black Rock Desert, but that's been flooded the last couple of years.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Andy.
No problem.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Yeah. There's so many really cool things going on in so few weeks that it's hard to be able to get to everything.
I saw a guy who he was posting videos, and he got a check ride in a pre-war DC-3.
Nice.
And they lined him up on the runway, or on the taxiway, and ready to turn onto the runway, getting clear. And the ground marshals put a Cessna behind him. And
that was dumb.
Part of what you do when you're waiting to get on the runway is do your engine run up to make sure your engines are working.
That's your job.
And he blew the Cessna away.
Yeah, I bet he did.
And so the air marshal comes running up, giving him the cut your engine sign, so he's like 50 feet in the air and 200 feet in front of this airplane, tiny little airplane behind this giant passenger plane, and so he doesn't know what's going on. In the after incident reporting, he says, "What should I have done? We shouldn't have run your engines up." You're supposed to run your engines up there. You shouldn't have put the little tiny airplane behind me that I couldn't see. You shouldn't have run your engines up. No.
Yeah, no,
he's right.
That's not the way it works. And somebody else had posted a video of the plane, the little plane, and so there was no damage to it, but it did start getting blown a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. All right, to the phones. Don from Pittsford, New York. What's up, Don?
Hello. I spoke with you gentlemen last Saturday about the dreaded blue screen of death. Your device ran into a problem and needs to restart. And with finally a workaround of disabling the driver signature enforcement, why everything seems to be fine.
Right.
However, another problem occurred not long after, which I'd like your help with, and that is with the computer working as it should, I went to Windows Update, and there were two updates, important ones to be installed. The first one installed just fine, normally, and the second one I thought installed, but it didn't. And I kept coming back, and it was still listed, and I tried it 2 or 3 times. And then the trying to shut down the computer, a screen sign came up which was install, update, and restart, or install, update, and shut down. And it went through this whole cycle. So I'm wondering on this one update, which seems to be causing the problem, and I can identify it for you, if you can tell me what to do, because my solution, and I think it is not a good one at all, is simply to check the option, do not install Windows updates for 30 days. But everything works
What's
fine.
the update?
The update is 2021-07, cumulative update for Windows 10 version 20H2 for x64 base systems, parentheses, KB 5004237.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people having the same issue.
Yeah. At this point,
22 updates are in that cumulative update.
right.
Well, it does take a long time to try to install, and you watch a percentage counter go by. But what's the solution? What's the workaround?
Honestly, and I hate to say this, the workaround is what you suggested. Pause updates until they fix it.
And hope another update fixes the problem that's preventing this update from getting in. One thing you could try to do is manually download that one update and install it outside of Windows Update.
How do you do that?
You have to go to the Microsoft Update Download Center and
Pick and choose.
Usually search for that KB number, and you'll find a download window. The trick is knowing exactly which version of Windows you have and which update that it to download.
Where would I find exactly which version of Windows I have?
In the Settings app under About.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then you want to go to downloads.microsoft.com. The easiest way to get to it.
Okay. Very good. All right. Anything, any other words of advice?
Pray.
In general, this is the same issue we've been talking about forever. Almost no Microsoft